We want to get to that breaking news out of Hawaii. An Air Canada flight was forced to divert due to what officials are calling severe clear air turbulence. There are numerous minor injuries reported. Meleka Lincoln is a reporter for Hawaii News Now and is at the airport. So Meleka, you've been talking with passengers. What are they telling you?
Good morning, Andrew. Most of the passengers that we spoke to say that they're still feeling pretty rattled, many of them with heart rates and blood pressure that is elevated even in the hours since they experienced turbulence, and that's because of how unexpected it was. Now, it's our understanding Air Canada Flight 33, which originated in Toronto, made a stop in Vancouver, and was ultimately headed to Sydney, Australia. Passengers were about 4 hours into their flight when this very severe turbulence happened. They say it was so unexpected. There wasn't a warning from the pilot or any of the flight crew to take their seats and to make sure that their seatbelts were fastened, which, as you know, we often hear when we're on flights and they can see or they expect that turbulence is going to take place. They made it clear for us that that was not the situation. About 4 hours into the flight, as many of them were resting, some of them sleeping. Definitely it was a subdued, quiet time. They say the plane started to jitter just a little bit, and then out of nowhere, they said the plane dropped. Many of them describing what they thought was the plane falling from the sky. At least one gentleman tells us he thought it might have been as much as 100-foot jump. And that's when, of course, anyone who didn't have a seatbelt on was tossed up, thrown into the air. Some so powerfully and violently they hit their heads on the ceiling or on the storage compartments, as you know, where all of the luggage goes. Some items did fall out or come down. We are told oxygen masks popped out of the ceiling. There were a few passengers who said that they were tossed up with such force they actually landed in the aisle rather than returning back to their seats. But it's the flight attendants who were told that might have been injured in this turbulence experience who were most likely the ones who were significantly hurt. And that's what we're piecing together from passengers and also from sources here on the scene with our emergency medical services. We're told that there's one flight attendant that may have actually had a cart topple over, land on top of her. We're also told that there were a few pregnant women on board and that they were experiencing some difficulty in the immediate aftermath of this turbulence. So while the event itself, we're told, did not last a long time, they said just seconds, it just happened so out of the blue that really contributed to a lot of the fear that many of the passengers felt. They have since deplaned. They are here again at the Honolulu International Airport. They are now waiting, unfortunately, in a rather long line at the Air Canada desk, where they will get their hotel accommodations and find out whether they are staying here in Hawaii for a few hours or a day or two until they can get redirected onto another flight and taken to their final destination of Sydney, Australia. The one thing that I did hear from almost every single passenger that we spoke to was that they felt that the flight crew was extremely reassuring and comforting, even in the chaos of everything happening. And it only took about 5 minutes, they say, for the pilot to get on the intercom service and let them know that there was nothing wrong with the plane or the majority of their flight crew and that they would be okay, but that they wanted to turn around and make the landing here in Honolulu to make sure that all of the other passengers were also okay.
And Meleka, interesting, we've been watching some of the images of passengers walking off that plane, describing it as frightening and scary. But what else do you know about any kind of medical attention those passengers and crew received when they arrived in Honolulu?
Great question, Andrew. One of the things that we were told was that they immediately triaged the passengers who were injured on board and moved them into the first class area so that they could then take a closer look at what the extent of their injuries were. It was after doing that assessment that the pilot made the ultimate decision to turn around and come back here to Honolulu, even though they were already about 2 hours west, is our understanding. Now, the nature of those injuries we hear does vary. One person told us that they'd heard there were broken bones, a dislocated rib. We've also heard that there were several people who had experienced concussions and, of course, abrasions, scrapes, scratches as a result of hitting their heads. So we don't know for sure the true nature of those injuries because we've not gotten that confirmed by the emergency medical services here on the ground in Honolulu. But we do know that there were ambulances waiting and that several people have already been taken by ambulances to nearby emergency rooms and hospitals.
All right, so just describe the scene there, Maleka, at Honolulu Airport. What has it been like?
Right now, it's pretty quiet, and I think it's because the majority of those Air Canada 33 flight passengers are already now waiting in line to find out what their next steps will be. A few of them telling us actually that they were just a little tired, a little hungry. They obviously were not expecting this delay. We spoke with one couple that's trying to move to Sydney, Australia, so they were saying they just really wanted to get this process going. A few people concerned about where their luggage was going to end up and how all of that would work. They certainly did not think they would have to come through customs here at the Honolulu International Airport. But it is subdued, I think would be the word that I would use now, even though certainly some of the passengers that we spoke to still saying that they felt a bit rattled. All of them saying that they were extremely appreciative, again, of what they thought was the care and the consideration exhibited by Air Canada's flight crew in the aftermath of this unexpected turbulence. That's one thing they really couldn't stress enough. And again, they say that's why they believe so many people were injured. There was no warning sign whatsoever, they said, other than a little bit of the shaking of the plane in the moments, immediate moments, just before it felt like this plane was possibly falling out of the sky, is how it was described to us.
Maleka, thank you. That is Maleka Lincoln live from Hawaii News Now, reporting for us from the Honolulu Airport.